All right. Well, we got to do this. We got to go back and look at my power rankings heading into this season. I gave every team a win total, and now we got to, rip off the Band-Aid and see what did I get wrong, because that's what we're interested in, right? Who cares about my good takes? Let's look at the bad ones. Those are more entertaining. I think it's good to do this, to go back and to look at this stuff. I always get annoyed when there's, content creators who I like who they'll go out of their way to say, well, I was right about this team, I was right about that team, but they also won't bring up when they were wrong about teams. And I also feel like you can be very misleading with that stuff because people don't typically go back and watch those old videos. So I'm going to go back and watch my own old video, or at least look at how many the win totals I had heading into the season and talk about what I got wrong. And first, let's just talk about the ones I got wrong. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to see how many were I more than 2 wins off. Because if I said a team was going to win 8.5 games and they won 10 games, I'm in the ballpark. I'm not too mad about that. I really want to talk about the ones that I had, was off by at least some significance. So let's start off with those. So first, these ones right here. So these are actually not all of the games that I missed by more than 2. There were 5 more. My goal was to try to get 22 games within 2 games. I missed that by a little bit. I only got 19. So not ideal. I think a little bit disappointing. But, again, these things are hard. It's a lot easier to mock someone else for having some bad takes than it is to actually have to give your own takes. But at the same time, it's the best job in the world. This is the only downside is people get to make fun of me, which is, whatever. So here's the takes. Here's what I had preseason. Texans only 1.62 wins, and this was, sort of the algorithm, but it was my guess on where they would end up at each position. So that's kind of how that worked. And you're probably confused if this is my first video you're watching, but if you watched a different kind of power rankings series I did, you know what I mean by that. The Texans, they overperformed. I'm not mad at that one. And again, all of these are kind of the ones that I was wrong about, but I'm not really that mad about. Not really that embarrassed by. It just, sometimes you're going to get stuff wrong. Like the Texans, I said they'd only win 1.62. They won 4. Good for them. I think they overperformed a lot of people's expectations this year, despite just winning 4 games. The Miami Dolphins here, so they're a team that, again, a little bit over that 2-win mark. I thought they'd win 6.62. They won 9 games. Good for them. I think really the difference was Tua performed better than I thought he would. And it's kind of a lesson for me. I keep saying this. Probably give young quarterbacks a little bit more time because he did end up playing pretty solid this year. So that alone was, I think, a big reason why they jumped up the way that they did. And, I think other than that, I kind of got mostly everything right about that Dolphins team. It was just a Tua thing I was too low on. So there you go. The Giants also, I actually think I kind of wasn't that wrong about the Giants. I think that if Daniel Jones stays healthy, I think they probably do win a couple more games and aren't on this list, but injuries are a part of football. So I'm not crushing myself for that wrong prediction. The Raiders, I was so close to getting within 2 games. And it's kind of funny how with the Raiders, I feel like I'm always way too high on them. The one year I wasn't that high on them is the one year they make the postseason. I actually think that, I got a lot right about the Raiders as well. The one difference was, the one area where I really got wrong was the receiving core. I thought the receiving core wouldn't be very good this year. It was actually pretty good. When it was healthy, really good. So that was the area where I got it wrong, and that's why the Raiders overperformed my expectations. Same thing with the Dallas Cowboys, where they're a bit off. They're one of the biggest off on this list of over 3 games, but I think I had to take that most people had if I thought their defense would suck this year. On paper, it kind of looked like, okay, a lot of young guys don't really know what to make of this team. I liked Micah Parsons a lot out of the draft. He was my favorite defensive player. I didn't expect this to happen, where he's just going to have just an awesome, rookie of the year caliber season. So that surprised me a little bit. Again, I kind of was on the offense being really good. I thought that they would just have no defense. So that's why I was wrong about them. Now the Ravens, again, I'm just going to chalk this up to injuries. I think that, them, if they were healthy, probably do win a couple more games. Maybe that's an out. I don't know, but that's how I feel. The Seahawks, again, you could argue the injuries were a bit of a factor here. Also with Seattle, Russell Wilson didn't have as good of a season as we expect from him. The receiving core didn't have as good of a season as we expected. So those were the main things I was wrong about there. And for Washington, the biggest thing I was wrong about here was their coverage. I thought their coverage would be really good this year. Again, a take most of us had. and it just completely regressed. So, they had a good coverage last year. They actually added talent to it with, getting William Jackson, and got worse. So, again, that's kind of more schematics than anything, I think. So that's kind of why they're there. But these are teams that, okay, was I wrong about? Absolutely. There's, you can't deny it. The wins total is the win total. But I can live with those. I'm not really ashamed of those. Let's get to the ones I'm a little bit ashamed of. All right. So these 5, I was off about, and, I would actually even say maybe just 4 out of the 5. We'll get into one of those in a second. But these were the ones that I was very off on. First, the Eagles. I mean, credit to the Eagles. I had them as one of the worst teams in football. They go out and win 9 games. I mean, they were the team that I ended up just, being way off about. The team I was most low on that did well, basically. So not the biggest win disparity. That would go to the Browns at the bottom. But in terms of team that I thought was going to suck and did well, they overperformed my expectations the most. That's the way you want to phrase that. I mean, there's what's to make of it? First off, I don't know why. I liked Jalen Hurts during the regular season, and for some reason during the offseason, I completely changed my opinion on him and didn't like him that much. Like, Jalen Hurts is a fine quarterback, and he overperformed those expectations. The receiving core played a lot better than I thought they would, so that was a big, reason for it. And I also think that they, they just performed like one level better in a lot of areas. Like, I thought their coverage would suck. Like, it was solid. Stuff like that was kind of how they were able to win so many games. Plus, the elite running game I didn't really fully see coming. So, missed a lot of stuff about the Eagles, basically, which is really what it came down to. The other stuff, it's like, okay, I missed 1 or 2 things. No, I missed like a bunch of stuff with the Eagles that, credit to the Eagles for proving me wrong. Can't be, can't bat 1,000 on all these. And certainly I can't. You look at this stuff. The Cincinnati Bengals, though, you also have this where they, were over 4 wins off. I had them as not a very good team this year. They were a very good team. They won 10 football games. Could have maybe won 11 had they played their starters the last game of the season. What was I wrong about here? Well, I liked Joe Burrow, and I liked their receiving core, but I maybe didn't love it as much as I should have. That was something that, I did not expect Joe Burrow to become an MVP candidate in his second year. And I'm a Joe Burrow guy. I liked a lot of what I see about Joe Burrow. I just didn't expect him to do that much. So that was right off the bat one of the things that just really surprised me. And their defense just played better than I expected it to. Not that I thought it was not that it's been like amazing this season, but it's been solid, pretty good at times, and I thought it wasn't going to be very good. So missing an entire unit of football, that's going to get you down there. So yeah, not my best take about the Bengals. The Arizona Cardinals, this is kind of one where, so there's a huge difference, but I can also kind of look back and say, okay, well, I see why I had to take. I mean, I didn't expect Kyler Murray to be an MVP candidate either. I thought he'd be good. He was good last year, but I didn't think he was going to be like elite. But, young players continue to play well. He continued to play well and, was really good. The rest of the offense, I kind of, played as I expected, but their defense, I also was shocked by how well they covered at times this season. I thought it was going to be horrendous heading into the year. Actually played pretty well. So those 2 things were really what I got wrong about the Arizona Cardinals. The Minnesota Vikings, part of me wants to say, like, a lot of this was just coaching. Like, I do feel like the Vikings were a talented team. Maybe 11 wins is a bit high, but, like, are they like a 10-win team, 9-win team? Probably. Yeah, I think so. I think they just underperformed for various reasons. So that's kind of why I say I'm maybe not as embarrassed about the Vikings because, all this takes into account is talent. There was a little bit of coaching taken into account as well, but that was more arbitrary than anything. So, and I probably wasn't as low on this coaching staff as I should have been because I do think you can chalk some of that up to just poor coaching. The Cleveland Browns are there at the bottom, who I had as winning the Super Bowl. They end up winning 8 games. So that's the worst take. And there's no, the 2 that you can't defend are the Eagles and the Browns. Like, okay, I could say, I didn't expect Joe Burrow to be as awesome as he was already this early into his career. I can get away with that. Like, same thing with Kyler Murray. I think I can get away with that. The Eagles and the Browns, hard to get away with it. I really think that with Cleveland, I mean, basically, it's kind of what I always say about football, and it's kind of proving my philosophies on football right, even though I was so wrong about this team, in that the reason why they dropped off so much was I thought the receiving core would be tier 1. It wasn't. It was not very good. I thought their quarterback play would be like tier 3, and it wasn't. It was not very good. You could make the argument those were both tier 5 this season, and that's That's a huge drop off. I mean, that's over a 5-win drop off according to the algorithm. Just like that, that's almost that's not the entirety of this jump, but that's a big part of it. So that's really why that's why they underperformed as much as I thought they would. I also think the Browns are a little bit better than an 8-win team. I think that they kind of got a little bit unlucky. I think it's fair to say, just the way things broke out. But still, they're definitely not the best take in hindsight. I think that's fair to say. Real quick, we can just run through just all of them in general. This is where I had them, just so you can, again, laugh at my good or bad takes if you want to. Again, some good takes on here, but the problem is, I got a lot of criticism for saying the Panthers would go, win 5.79 wins. A lot of people made fun of me for that. That ended up being right, but again, I'm not going to go through each one and say, look, I was right about this one. I was right about more often than I was wrong, but you kind of are supposed to be right about more than you're wrong. The next 8 here, I'm blowing by them a little bit. You can sort of see where I had some of these teams, Dallas, who ended up being 18th, but I had them as, a 500 team, and I had them also with, one of the worst coaching grades you can get, actually second worst. So, and Zach Taylor was the worst. So that's also part of why maybe those two teams I was too low on. It's not that they were great coaching this year, but at least they were pretty good compared to what I thought would be god awful. Next 8, you see that the ones I have the little dash next to are the playoff teams. So again, some good takes, some not so good takes. And then finally, the top 8, I had Washington squeaking into the top 8, and they were dead on arrival really this season, and the Vikings also. But in fairness, they also performed well in the algorithm this season. They just underperformed the algorithm as well. Maybe it's an algorithmic failure, or maybe it's just the Vikings were poorly coached, which is my theory, but who knows. And then, the top 6, 5 of those top 6 all do feel like championship contenders. So that's one thing I did get right, is that, the teams that are the championship contenders, I did kind of get high up there. But obviously, then it gets negated with the Browns being number 1. Again, going back and looking at this doesn't live up too well. So what do I make of all this? Was this me being bad? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because I would have to probably go back and look at some other people's preseason power rankings and see what they did. And I also attached the win totals to them, which makes it look even worse when you go through hindsight. So, I mean, this stuff is hard, right? And I spend months doing this and then miss on 2/3 of it. So, and my goal was to get, a little bit better than 2/3. That was my goal here, and I barely missed it because it's hard. It's hard to get this stuff. But, going through this, I can learn some things potentially. I'm trying to figure out, what exactly have I learned from going through with this. And again, a lot of times when I see this stuff, I'm like, I just missed on this 1 or 2, position groupings that were way better than I expected or way worse than I expected. So sometimes it does happen. Is it just it's hard to predict exactly everything that's going to happen in a football season, and I was not able to predict everything. But yeah, that's what I thought about this. Wanted to make this video. I know that the people that hate watch my channel would probably very much enjoy it. So there you go. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.